Stop me, you heard this before, but LeBron James is going to walk back some comments. So this is what LeBron initially said in regards to Brittney Griner.
Brittney Griner, she is in Russia. She's been there
over 110 days. Now, how can she feel like America has her back? I would be feeling like, do I even want to go back to America?
Okay, so we got those comments, right? So then obviously there was like, oh, wait, what? Excuse me? Then he tweeted, my comments on the shop regarding Brittney Griner wasn't knocking our beautiful country. I was simply saying how she's probably feeling emotionally, along with so many other emotions, thoughts, etc., inside the cage she's been in for over 100-plus days. Long story short, hashtag bring her home. What? That doesn't even make any sense. You think she's sitting there in Russia thinking she doesn't want to come home? Like, what? I'd much rather be in Russia where they lock me up for having some weed oil. Like, and I understand what he's getting at. You know, look, I do wonder. I've had this great discussion. We had it on air. What was it, Jay Stu, about 2-3 weeks ago, where I said, like, you know, if it was LeBron James, it was a perennial all-star. It was one of the best players in your league. I mean, like, even if it was LeBron James. First, I don't think they could arrest LeBron James. I don't. I may be wrong. Okay, but, like, if it was Anthony Davis, okay, Anthony Davis is not as accomplished as Brittney Griner is as a basketball player. Do you think Anthony Davis would be home already? What do you think? Jay Stu, I'm going to ask you if it's Anthony Davis, okay, he's being held basically as a political hostage, if you will, a political prisoner. Do you think Anthony Davis would still be in Russia?
I think he falls into that category of I think so. Like LeBron, Tiger, the special of the special, and the world famous people that they're no way they're spending.
But isn't
time.
Brittney? She's not in that realm for women's basketball.
Probably, but I think Anthony Davis might have more behind him, and that he would have the entire NBA and all of his NBA players. The Brittney Griner support has been sporadic, inconsistent. People, just kind of tweeting free Brittney or whatever, but there hasn't been this constant pressure that I think Anthony Davis would. I mean, what did we learn with LiAngelo Ball and the China thing? Like, that thing, took on a life of its own. I know a lot of it had to do with LeVar Ball's mouth, but, he was out of the China prison pretty quick, and that was LiAngelo Ball.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think there's obviously some political pressure that could be put on by the NBA. Ilo, what do you think? Do you think Anthony Davis will be back home already?
To be honest, I don't know because of the unpredictability of Russia. And look, this is essentially, let's face it, a hostage situation, okay? So would Russia say, oh, here's a big American celebrity with his, with his brand and his superstardom in the NBA? What can we get in terms of, people who might be held in the American pressure socially have an impact in Russia? All the pressure domestically in America is at efforts to increase, the State Department's efforts to get her home. I don't think it matters to the people in Russia.
Sam?
I kind of side with Isaac here. I think that Russia and Vladimir Putin are so desperate that if they had someone as valuable as Anthony Davis or Paul George or whoever, I don't know if they're going to give him up. I mean, they're trying to swap Brittney Griner for some weapons arms dealer terrorist. That's not exactly an equal trade.
No,
and
that's Kyrie for Russell Westbrook. That's what.
Basically, Putin has backed himself into a corner so much. Like, he has, a lot. He's been sanctioned. He's got all this oil money being cut off. Like, he's desperate, and Russia is desperate, and they don't know what they're doing in this war. And so having an American hostage, someone like Brittney Griner with her name recognition, I just have to side with Isaac here. Like I don't think that necessarily like if it was a male athlete that he'd be out yet.
Also, I will say back to your original point, Doug, I want to get this in. This was an unforced error in terms of LeBron's social media team. This is not something he said in an interview. This was an in-house thing, and it was actually first released as part of a trailer for that episode. Why do you let that get out at all? Why don't you just edit it out? Because you know that he's going to get ripped for it when people take it out of context.
I don't think people took it out of context.
No, that's true. That is true. It was a faux pas. In that context, you're right. It was more of a faux pas than being taken out of context. But why do you even let it get out there in the first place when you have control editorially?
Because you want people to watch the show.
Well, I guess that worked.
I have a theory on that.
Okay, I'm listening.
Okay, so I think he said that. They put it in the promo thinking that it would get a lot of clicks and people would watch the show and it's political, but it's LeBron kind of doing what he does. He kind of half-asses these political messages. And I think he got pressure from the Griner camp. Like, America's our only chance at getting her out of a Russian prison. Why would you say that? Why would you say she is thinking that maybe she doesn't even want to go?
Yes, I think he talked out of his rectum. Now, here's the thing, okay? Let's just be honest. If it's real barbershop talk, then talking out your rectum happens all the time, right? Like,
yes.
Just when you're having these, I mean, that's part of the deal, right? That undisputed in First Take is talking out your backside is kind of part of the deal. And then what's supposed to happen is, in a real barbershop, is a bunch of people going like, you're talking out your rectum. Right? Like, what are you talking about? Guys just laughing at your take. The problem with LeBron's deal is he talks out his rectum, and everybody goes like, that's a good point. That's a good point. Yes, that's a totally. I get that. Instead of going like, bro, what? She don't want to come back to America. Where does she want to go? Where does she want to go? Where else can she be a millionaire basketball player and be free to live her life? And there's states in this country where you can go and smoke weed as often as you want within the confines of your own home. While living in a domestic relationship with another woman, right? Legally. Like, what, again, like, have you not traveled the world? There ain't any place better. So he's talking out his ass, and yeah, that's kind of what barbershop is about. So I think they put it out there, and I think they were a little bit surprised by it. And look, LeBron didn't have to backpedal. What it says is that whatever's on the real show, there was nobody pushing back going like, dude, you're out of your mind. Pick a country, any country, and even the most evolved one, she can't be her and be as successful as she is without America.
But don't you think, though, that this kind of take, Doug, opens LeBron up to a type of vitriol that is on another level than if he would have just said, Kevin Durant sucks?
Of course. But, like, he kind of opened himself up to that when he did the political thing. Like, my thing is, like, look, dude, people are going to hate you because they hate you. Who cares? Right? If you want to if you want a show that's going to give your opinion, give your opinion. And if people don't like it, they don't like it. Okay. But this is where me and Jay Stu are the same. He goes halfway with things, and he talks about things he clearly doesn't understand in a way in which only shows he doesn't understand them or the ramifications of what he's saying. They're not well thought out, which is fine, but don't try and throw on glasses and act like it's super well thought out and be professorial and then backpedal like the very next day, which explains that it wasn't well thought out. Jay Stu, is that about what you meant, what you're talking about?
Well, I mean, what was it? About a year ago? Was it the I want to say her name was Bryant, Micaiah Bryant, right? When the girl that was about to stab another girl, and then the police officer shot her before she could stab her, and tweets out a picture of the police officer saying, "You're next," and the world was like,
yeah.
"What? Wait, what?" Like, to me, that was just irresponsible, and he half-assed it. But he probably thought he was speaking to his side of the politics, but everyone was kind of scratching their head on that one.
Yep, he's had some of those before.
And
yes, Sam, go ahead.
Doug, can I just jump in? I think that what LeBron fails to understand here is that there are people working to get Brittney Griner home. He just doesn't understand like what's going on behind the scenes. Because there are family member who's locked away in Russia as Brittney Griner is getting. So there's like this pecking order here, and people are trying to get her back. But she was taken into custody in Russia right as the war with Ukraine was ramping up. These are extraordinary times. This is not just like Russia from 5 years ago. She would have been home already. This is a time where Vladimir Putin and his goons are doing something on a world scale that everyone pretty much universally loathes. So, of course, he's not going to give her up. She's a bargaining chip.
Yes. I mean, like, look, at some point, what has to happen if you want – it's like you need to treat Putin like he's a child. We've already had Starbucks pull out, and McDonald's pull out, and others pull out. But, you need to continue to put up that pressure. Like, the NBA needs to say, we will never do business with you ever again. You have 24 hours to put her on a plane. Otherwise, you can't broadcast our games. We don't want any of your players. We don't want anything to do with you. I don't know how much that affects them. I don't know the volume of business they do in Russia. I do know that, like, now, if you're a basketball player, and I played in Russia, just so, do you guys know that I played a season with a team that won the Russian championship?
No. What team did you play for?
It was called Ural Great. They're not as good. They're not great anymore. We were kind of put together to beat CSKA, which is sponsored by the Red Army, who had never lost since they went free market. It was in the 2000-2001 season. I came aboard in 2001, right, in January 10th, I think I got there. And we won our Euro League. We won the Russian regular season and won the Russian championship as well. I'm champion de Russie. That's it. I got the bonus to prove it and everything, and I got a little trophy. So I've been there, but like, and so guys go there because it's good money and good ball. But right now, like, you shouldn't go there.
Well, obviously, the relationship between the United States and Russia back then was much different than it is now.
Totally.
That being
Putin
said,
had just taken over in like 2000 or 2001.
Yes.
That being said,
Yes.
what precautions, if any, were you told to take about living there? Really?
I mean, the only thing was there was a bit of the feeling of anti-Semitism was the only thing. Like,
that's not new to
like,
Russia.
It was kind
That's been a problem for a long time.
Yeah, it was kind of like Wang in Caddyshack. Hey, Wang, don't tell him you're Jewish. This place is restricted, okay? Right? Like that's the only that's the only one. But and that was kind of a learn as you go. I mean, look, there were places which you wouldn't go. They don't go gamble. Like the nightclubs had casinos and. You were, that was also owned by the mob, and the mob owned your team, so you don't want to get indebted to them. But that was more common sense than anything else. It's a fascinating thing, isn't it? Like, would Damian Lillard be home right now?
Hard to say.
Biggest thing. I think he would.
I mean, it's the same. It's the same question as Anthony Davis. It's more.
He's got a bigger brand than Anthony Davis. That would be my one thing. There's plenty of Laker fans like, I'm kidding.